squeaker on each side. All right, a few improvements for today. One, he is good with collars going on, so I've got the other one making sure it's fully charged and everything before I swap him out to just the regular GPS collar. But I've got the e-collar on and he's just practicing wearing it for now. It's not the proper tightness. It needs to be a little more snug for us to actually use it, but I wasn't actually going to introduce it today anyway. For him, I don't mind taking my time with the e-collar because it's a tool just like everything else. So he should be able to do all of his commands by the end of this, ideally as much as humanly possible without tools in the first place, but they're there as a backup. So I want enough time to introduce them, but that's not the way he learns. So I don't care when we introduce it as long as I've got enough time, which, I mean, worst comes to worst, you could introduce it speedily in about 5 or 6 days, but I prefer much longer than that just to give him plenty of time. But we're talking about adding some distractions today. So we've talked about the 3Ds, distance, duration, distraction. I'm gonna repeat them a million times so that you've heard them a million times because I want that to stick in your brain so that you remember what to practice with him. But what we're doing right now is we're adding some higher value distractions. I've got a little squeaker in my pocket that he has been interested in. For him, I could use toys, but he's not that motivated for them in the first place. So I don't want to introduce toys and have him then lose value in the toys because he's had to ignore them for so long that any little bit of value kind of gets diminished. So when we add new distractions, we want to make sure that we're not also changing one of the other variables at the same time. So he's done about 30 seconds and about 5 feet. So I'm going to stay at less than 30 seconds and less than 5 feet if I'm adding a new distraction. In this case, I'm going to be right next to him and we'll see how he goes. Gabe, place. Perfect. Partially came to chase a fly, but I'll take it. Yes! Wait until it's all the way in the command to reward. Now we'll add our new distraction. Got our squeaker. Yes! boy, break. And then on the next rep, if we're not adding the squeaker, we can go back to doing our distance. So Gabe, place. In the early stages, we're giving him a second to process. Yes. Notice I'm not repeating the command in these early stages, especially. But, So if he gets off, correction marker, and guide him back on. No reward after correction. So there he let me move further, but that's because he was looking out the window. A little bit of tension back towards to communicate what I want. I can add the hand signal if I want. Place. Good. Give him a second or two. Break. Good. And then we'll try it again. Gabe, place. Now, some dogs do better if you reward them immediately. Place. So I'm still adding just a tiny bit of tension, but never enough to actually pull them. This is the hard part in those early stages because it has to be his choice. It's not learning if it's not his choice. Yes. Don't often want to praise them after correction, but that was hard for him, and I want to let him know that that was a good job. Break. So, distance is hard for him right now, so let's figure out what distance. Gabe, place. So if I take that, half a step back, that's already getting his butt to pop up. Sit. So we'll try. Yes. And sometimes you're going to backtrack. He was doing 5 feet a couple minutes ago. So we'll see. Yes. Sometimes you just have to practice the easier version first. Beautiful. There you go. Wait for the sit to move any further. Sit. There we go. 1, 2, yes. So 5 feet's too much. We'll try 2 steps. 1, 2, yes. And we'll do that until he's successful there. A couple times. See, I knew on a third one that was going to be too much duration for him. So working with them on these distractions, especially early on, is about figuring out what works for them when, and focusing on the fact isn't that they have to stay there. The fact is that you're working on communicating what you want from them. We're not training robots, we're creating expectations in a relationship. And communication is always the first step to that. So you have to be clear and you have to be consistent. And that was hard, so this time I'm just going to reward him with being released. Break! And we'll go do something else. We'll play for a couple minutes, we'll take a break, we'll reset, and then we'll do that same thing again later. Gabe, come. Yes! There we go. Now just let him explore for a little while before calling him back again. Probably not on the 50-foot leash, but on the 15 and 30-foot leashes. We'll be working on this when we go out for potty breaks, because I don't always take him fully into the backyard to go potty. Sometimes we just go walk around the front. While we're doing this, we're also working on engagement training, so if he happens to look at me or come back to me, he gets rewarded for that as well. Because remember, we're not just building a dog who can respond to commands, we're also building a dog who just makes the right choices in the first place. So if you have him off leash, I don't want you having to call him back every 5 seconds because he keeps going way over there. And then the second you get him back, he goes way back over there and does the same thing again and again. So he's gotten a minute to explore. Gabe, come. So he knows what it means for sure inside. And he can do it on a shorter leash. Yes! It's the motivation to do it on a longer one. We give him a handful, a couple pieces of food so that it's a high value recall. Yes! I can also reward him multiple times while he's near me. Yes! To build a little bit of a pause in recall. Some other things you can do for fun different variations of come is when you ask him to come, he automatically sits. Or when you ask him to come, you grab his collar first and then reward. That one works really well if you've got a dog that's super skittish. That way, if they get out and someone says, "Oh, come here, puppy," you've got more of a likelihood that they're used to their collar being grabbed. But this is pretty much what we're working on for a little bit in the afternoon. He got his exercise, he got some larger training sessions. So we're gonna do this as a little slow down before having him in his kennel. So one of the other things we can do out here for fun, he's not great at using his nose. So that's one of the things we'll work on a little bit. Gabe, come here. Is scatter feeding, so you can toss a treat in the grass and let them find it. He's good at finding one, but if I toss two, he doesn't go looking around for the other one. See? He just goes for whichever one he saw. So I want to teach him how to do that because it's a lot of fun. You have to pick decent spots of grass, but sit. Just working on being able to touch the door. Right. There we go. Okay, place. Yes. Good boy. Place. Yes. 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 Break. Good boy. Good boy. Break. Good. Back to basics outside. Yes. Break. Oh boy. Place. Yes. Yes. Break. Break. You can go do other things. We're gonna make an attempt to show you what his heel's looking like. It is not as easy on grass because there are things for them to sniff. But, and I only have one hand, so we will do our best. Okay, sit. Good. Just take a step. Stop. Yep. Yes. Not great. Yep. Nothing much outside. Yes. 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 Break. Go do something. Awesome. So we're on our walk for the day. Here's what we're kind of working on. One, we're working on when he pulls. I stop. Sometimes I let him go towards whatever it was that he was wanting to pull towards. Sometimes I don't. Kind of make it a little bit more realistic. Even though for the most part, I don't really care where we walk. We can walk in the middle of the grass. We can walk in the middle of the street. Walking in the middle of the street is definitely easier for training for obvious purposes. There isn't grass to distract him. But we're also attempting to work on engagement. That one's still pretty hard for him outside, especially when we're walking to new smells. Gabe. Yeah. Gabe. Yes. Anytime he checks in with me, if I ask for his name and he checks in with me, great. Ideally though, I'm just having him working on just the expectation of him checking in the first place. And part of that is just making it less novel being out here first. By the time we get to the end, he will have been to so many different stores that stores in general don't feel as novel as they did right at the beginning. And part of that is just habit. And that will continue after training as well, is if you haven't gone to stores with him in a couple months, you can expect that his behavior at stores probably won't be as good as it was right after going to the stores time and time again. So there might be times where you're in that maintenance mode after he's solid and everything looks good and stays pretty good, that you have to rework him through something. So just things to keep in mind for the future while we watch him walk. He's doing pretty well for the most part. We haven't run into any dogs, although we're about to. That's the house. That house always has dogs out and about in their fence, not in the front yard, otherwise I wouldn't go over here. Let's see. Oh, there they go. Come here. He definitely hears them. Now you can see him. My time.